Hi everyone, my name's Monica Capilla. Welcome to my YouTube channel. We're going to do a recipe today for cauliflower bread. It was a very popular recipe and everyone's asked me for it, that's why I'm doing it. It is gluten-free, so let's get right to the ingredients. Just a quick word about me. I live in Dubai at the moment. I've been here since 2006, but I was born and brought up in London, but I am of Indian origin. So all my recipes tend to be very much on the kind of healthier side of things, but I never compromise on taste. Because I'm Indian, I'm very much in touch with the sort of herbs and spices that we use in our cooking. So you will find me incorporate lots of those. So I use things like garlic, ginger, turmeric, and a little bit of chili. Of course not in cakes. So let's get to it. So cauliflower bread, of course we need a cauliflower. So the cauliflower that I've used is just normal cauliflower. I've taken the green bits off, but if you'd like to incorporate those bits in, you can. In terms of the weight or the quantity, I'd say roughly something that weighs about 500 grams of cauliflower. So what we're going to do with the cauliflower is process it down to sort of a very fine, finer than rice actually, squeeze out all the liquid, and then we need to flavour it up. So here comes the Indian bit. We often use cumin when we make Indian cauliflower dishes. Cauliflower's gobi, when you make gobi aloo, which is potatoes and cauliflower, you use cumin. So we're going to powder down some cumin seeds. We are also going to add some garlic, turmeric, chili, and a little bit of salt, just like 3/4 of a teaspoon maybe, is sort of more than enough, maybe a little bit less of the turmeric. If you're wondering why we're using turmeric, the reason is obviously it's an anti-inflammatory agent, but it also provides a very nice golden colour to your cauliflower in a very natural way. So once we've flavoured up the processed down cauliflower, we need to bulk it up a bit. So we're going to do that with almond meal. This is 3/4 of a cup of almond meal, and if you don't have a 3/4 cup container, because I didn't, you use a 1/2 cup container and a 1/4 cup, so 2/4 and another 1/4, 3/4 of a cup roughly. And you also need some eggs to then again sort of lighten up the mixture. So you need 3 eggs, but you need a couple of little bowls because we're doing egg white and we're also doing the egg yolk, so we need to whiz up the egg white into fluffy white peaks. So again, we're processing down the cauliflower, we're flavouring up the cauliflower because it's quite boring otherwise, then we're bulking out the cauliflower bread mixture with almond meal instead of normal flour, then we're lightening the whole thing with some eggs and some egg white, and then before we bake the thing in the oven, we need to add baking powder, and we're also going to flavour it up a little bit more with some cheese. So we're using Parmesan cheese. I think we've got like around 30 grams here of Parmesan cheese, Parmigiano Reggiano Gran Padano, I call it hard cheese. A little bit of melted butter, again about 30 grams. And this is some thyme, which also imparts a sort of very nice flavour. We have another recipe for leek and potato gratinée, which again uses the sort of turmeric and the thyme together, and it works very well. In terms of the equipment that you'll need, you'll obviously need an oven-proof dish to put your bread in and then bake it. And this one's good because it kind of slices quite nicely from that. You'll need, if you've got a Thermomix, lucky old you, I don't have one, but I do like them. In terms of processing equipment, you need something to whiz up your egg whites. So I'm just going to use a hand whisk for that. But to process down the cauliflower and also to grind down the spices, I'm going to just use a mixer grinder attachment to a good processor. I've got a Panasonic one here, but just use any one. So keep watching and let's just make this bread. Okay, so here are the cauliflower florets. You just wash the cauliflower, cut them into largish florets, put them in your grinder, and then put the lid on, and then just grind them up to sort of like kind of a small rice powder consistency. This is what they look like, and have your bowl ready with your tea towel to actually put your mixture into. We'll come back to you when that's done. Okay, so here's our cauliflower just whizzed down. I mean, you can see how sort of almost creamy it is. It's actually whizzed down to a sort of very fine, kind of not quite paste consistency. I mean, it's still sort of fibrous and bulky, but it is quite wet. So 2 things we need to do to this. Firstly, we need to flavour it up a bit because cauliflower is actually quite boring. So as I said before, my spices that I was using were the turmeric, the red chili, the oil, and the salt. And what I've done with my cumin seeds, in fact, I didn't properly wash out the grinder before I put the cumin seeds in. It's just a bit of cauliflower mixed in. So that's the cumin seeds, ground up a little bit with the remnants of cauliflower in the machine, some garlic, turmeric, chili, and some salt. So that basically serves to make the cauliflower more interesting. very, very nice. So I'm going to pour all of this into a tea towel, which is literally just sort of sitting over another bowl. I mean, it needs to be a very clean tea towel, but don't worry if it's sort of not perfect, because you're going to put the cauliflower in and squeeze out all the liquid. So just literally pour all the cauliflower in like that. So all of it's in. Let's everything. And then, as you can see, I've got those 4 corners. So what I'm going to do is just literally take up those 4 corners, and you have to, for a while, just lift the whole thing up into this sort of little bundle. And look at that, even before I start squeezing, look at all the liquid. And we didn't put any liquid in there, that is just liquid that's coming out of the cauliflower. And then if you turn that round and give it like a good rinse through, good sort of wringing out, is that what you call it? So you need to do that. If any of you are sort of soup makers, I reckon you could use this lovely flavoured liquid as part of a soup or vegetable broth, or even if you were making like a nice cauliflower risotto, this liquid would be really tasty. So you could actually reserve that to use in another dish like that. So I'm just going to keep going for a little while and then let this sit for a while, and then we're going to come back to you and show you what we're going to do with our eggs. Okay, so we processed down all our ingredients. We've got the sort of egg whites to fluffy peaks. So that was 3 egg yolks, 3 egg whites, 60 grams of the hard cheese like Gran Padano or Parmigiano Reggiano, and about 60 grams or 3/4 of a cup of roughly ground up almonds. And our cauliflower sort of had all its liquid taken out of it, but it has been spiced. So what we're going to do now is we're going to just take the egg yolks and put those into sort of a larger bowl, because your whole mixture is going into a big bowl. There, that's fine. And then to that I'm going to add the almonds, and also I'm going to add at that point one heaped, let's say, teaspoon of baking powder. So in that goes, and that needs to be just mixed through together. So the of the bread. So this one here is just going to be cut through with the cauliflower, and then we're also going to add a little egg white. So I'm actually going to get another spoon and use that to add a little of my egg white to this mixture. So let's just add a couple of spoons of the egg white. I'm just putting that in here to lighten that up a bit. Just using a wooden spoon and bowl, no processes are required for this. And then to this mixture, I'm going to add our very squeezed out of liquid but spicy cauliflower. So I'll just lift the whole thing up and tip it all into our bowl, like that. So that's all in there, and I'll show you what that looks like in a sec. So here's our cauliflower mixture in there. This is the basis of our bread. You can see it's sort of smelling really nice. I can get that cumin flavour in there. And this is the point where I'm going to add my cheese. And if you want a little bit more chili or a little bit more salt, this is the point at which you should do that. So it's quite dry, but that egg white is going to make that a bit wetter. We're going to put our little butter in, melted butter in a minute, and some more of the egg yolk, and then the herbs, and that will be ready to bake. So here's my bit of melted butter. I'm going to just, not quite all of it, put that through there. This is actually smelling really, really nice now. And then the whole mixture is going to be lightened through with the rest of the egg white, And then we're just going to add the thyme herbs and then put that in a dish to bake. So I'm going to just pop in half of that egg yolk and then the last half, and then that will be ready to bake. So come back to us when we're ready to just put it in the oven. Okay, so our cauliflower bread mixture is ready. I'm going to put it in the dish. I've just put like a teaspoon of olive oil in there, and I'm just sort of brushing it along the bottom of my oven-proof dish that I can cook the bread in, and I'm just going up the sides a bit because then it's obviously a little bit easier to cut, but it's not difficult at all. And then the other thing that you can do for the topping is just to add some sesame seeds. It makes it look sort of very nice on the sort of golden crust of the bread. So what I'm going to do is to just pour this all in here and then just even it out a little bit, and then we're going to bake this in a preheated oven at about 175-180 degrees for around 25 minutes. You put a timer on and then come back to it. So you can see this amount just sort of fits in quite nicely here. I should actually have one of those kind of flattening spoons, which I do have behind me, but I think I could sort of manage with this. And then I'm going to put some sesame seeds on the top of it. In fact, I will get one of those flattening spatula type spoons because it is nicer. Nice where something is where I expect it to be in my kitchen. It's always a bonus. And one of these things just levels it out a little bit. Scrape it off down the sides. And you see why it's quite nice not to have everything puree texture. So do you remember the nuts were kind of not quite pureed? You had the little leaves of thyme in there. The cumin seeds weren't sort of down to a fine powder, because you do get some nice texture going on, and it's sort of more rustic and homemadey, which of course it is. And then just generously sprinkle with your hands some sesame seeds all over the top of your bread until most of it's covered, and then just pop it in your oven and wait for it to cook. So we've just taken our bread out of the oven and I'm just pressing it down with a knife there. It is quite spongy. 25 minutes and quite golden there. So if I just pop my knife in gently, and it's coming out quite clean, as you can see, but I think I'm just going to leave it in there for literally another 2 minutes in that hot oven, and then I'm going to take it out and our cauliflower bread will be ready. It's smelling lovely, and you can see that it's actually risen quite well too. Okay, so we've taken our bread out of the oven. This dish is actually quite hot, but if I tip this up, you can see how beautifully, golden the, it's quite hard to tip this up, and that's the air fryer off. How beautifully golden this bread top is, and crispy with these nice toasted sesame seeds on the top. So let's cut ourselves a slice or two and show you what it actually comes out like. You come closer to see. And actually I've done this before and I toasted this. I just sort of put it in the air fryer. It's always a bit tricky getting the first one out, isn't it? And there we are, this sort of hot, lovely cauliflower bread, as you can see, with bits of cauliflower, and you can sort of see in there how nice it is. So I hope you have a go. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. We've got lots more really interesting, healthy, tasty recipes that I think everyone can access, and wherever you live in the world. I think the ingredients should be okay for you to get. So do subscribe to the channel, go to the blog on doindubai.com. I'm Monica Capilla, thank you so much for watching. Do a like sign with the thumbs up and leave a comment if you made this or if you thought it was useful. Thank you.